Good evening, everybody. Welcome to St. John's. We're delighted that you can be here to celebrate with us for the rededication of our historic Colin Woodbury pipe organ. I'm Rob Entrican. I've been serving as the interim music director. I should say church DJ for since the pandemic started. And I just want to thank you for coming. Thank you for wearing your masks so that everyone will feel comfortable, especially since we'll be doing a little singing this evening. And I wanted to remind you, if you would all just take a minute right now, find your cell phone, make sure it's either turned off or silenced. And with that, we can begin our program.
Well, I'd very much like to echo Rob's welcome. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. And also those who are participating from afar. We're grateful that we have the technology to be able to offer this. And also this is going to be a recorded document. So Tonight's presentation will be a part of the centennial celebration and part of what it is that we will document and keep. So on behalf of the people of St. John's Parish and by the grace of God, I welcome you to this special evening of rededication and blessing, the rededication and blessing of this newly restored Cole and Woodbury pipe organ. The word dedicate is exactly right for this occasion. In the wider world, it's common to dedicate something as a way of signaling something or the opening of something new, or like tonight, the reopening of something that has been made new. But the term dedicate has an older and even ancient meaning from the Latin word dedicare, which means to give oneself entirely to God. And tonight we accomplish both of these. So let us in prayer inaugurate the newness of this restored instrument and dedicate ourselves to its use to God's great glory, our great good, and the flourishing of our neighbors. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Most holy, loving, and generous God, as we gather on this centenary of St. John's founding, we remember the birth of your church at Pentecost, how you heralded its coming to the apostles in the roar of rushing winds, and how you established harmony, raising and uniting the voices of every tribe and nation. We thank you and bless you for the gift of this organ, a dream planted and realized by your generative spirit 1/2 century ago. We now offer and rededicate this beautifully restored instrument to your great glory through your Son, Jesus Christ, in concert with the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
St. John's historic organ was originally designed and built in Boston by James Cole and James Woodbury for the Highland Congregational Church in Lowell, Massachusetts. It was given to the church in 1892 as a memorial to Lucretia Buttrick by her son, James Gardner Buttrick. The organ included a console with 2 manual keyboards, a pedal board, and 19 ranks of pipes. A rank, also referred to as a stop, is a set of pipes which all have the same tone quality, but which speak at different pitches along the musical scale. Organ pipes, depending on their design and material, can produce tones that sound like a flute, a cello, a clarinet, a trumpet, or many other instruments. The Highland Congregational Church building was demolished for freeway construction in 1970, and the Cole and Woodbury organ was purchased by architect and organ buff John Merriman of New Haven, Connecticut, in order to save the instrument. It was then put into storage at the Andover Organ Company in nearby Methuen, Massachusetts. The organ came to St. John's in Kirkland through the efforts of Julia Cassell, a member of the Organ Historical Society, and Alan Loftman of the Organ Clearinghouse, a nonprofit brokerage that specializes in the preservation of high-quality vintage pipe organs. The vestry purchased the organ in January 1974 with funds from Project Reaffirmation, a capital campaign for the 50th anniversary of St. John's Parish. The cost of the disassembled instrument was $2,500, but with shipping and installation, the total expense was $8,500, about the same cost as a new luxury car in 1974. When reassembled, the value of the organ would be at least $45,000. about the price of a new 3-bedroom home. On Maundy Thursday, 1974, a giant musical jigsaw puzzle arrived at St. John's by truck. The delivery consisted of about 10,000 pounds of pipes, chests, and boxes. Thousands of pipes and individual parts were unloaded and stored in the undercroft. Glenn White of Olympic Organ Builders was hired to advise and oversee the reassembly. Jim Neal, chairman of the organ committee, coordinated the installation along with a crew of over 30 volunteers from the parish. 5 months later, the huge task of cleaning, reassembling, adjusting, and tuning was completed, and the Cole and Woodbury organ was finally ready to begin its second life at St. John's.
The St. John's organ is a pretty unique instrument within the Seattle area in terms of how old it is and the style in which it was built. It's really an organ of the 19th century and of Romanticism in that it has this very kind of broad, lush color. You know, I think that the instrument, in terms of just having such a unique sound, and I think a very quality, unique sound, made it worth preserving.
American organ building really had its roots in English organ building. For me in particular, I did my apprenticeship in New England, restoring and rebuilding 19th century American trackers like yours.
The organ was heavily modified over the course of its lifetime in the fad of the time to try and make it sound like the organs of Bach. But all of that really kind of is against the essential original character of the organ.
You know, tonal changes started happening to the organ all the way back in the 1950s with Bob Reich, who I knew from the Andover Organ Company where I did my apprenticeship. And Bob was the organist at Highland Congregational in Lowell, Massachusetts. You know, when it got moved out here and finally set up in the sanctuary, you know, Olympic Organ Builders, Glenn White, they made some additional modifications. He was trying to turn them into something that they were never meant to be. And that was, they went through this whole period of trying to make everything neo-Baroque.
Really, they preserved some of the softer sounds of the organ and some of the louder sounds of the organ. But what was missing was kind of the main body in between those two extremes. When the organ was moved to Kirkland, there were 2 ranks that were eventually removed from the instrument. And so when we found those 2 ranks of pipes in the room upstairs, I immediately thought, well, gosh, couldn't we put these back into the organ, try and reclaim some of that character, and trying to achieve as cohesive an instrument based on its original design, rather than trying to either make it something that it's not or sort of reinvent it.
The organ had really lost any true sense of tonal focus. We made tonal changes, trying in all instances to either keep or reincorporate displaced original pipework. An accumulation of dirt can certainly cause things like sliders to bind. Dirt in the pipes is probably the biggest thing. It causes slurred pipe speech. So instead of having a pipe that is crisp and articulate, you get something that's kind of mush mouth. And that's just a matter of cleaning the pipe, as we did. And there are felt bushings. Everything's got a felt bushing. So like the draw knobs, when you pull them out to turn to stop one, there's a felt bushing around the shank. Those wear out, and then you get wood on wood, so you replace the bushing. The pallets inside the chest that cover over the wind channels, that's perishable material. In time, the leather decays, and you need to put new leather on the pallet. The bulk of the difficulties were with the pipe. the pipes themselves. It was the amount of damage to the pipework. It was mostly the toes of the pipes. The pipes are tin and lead, they're soft. It was just mind-numbing almost when we, got the pipes all washed and got them laid out on the tables, and we just looked and went, oh my gosh. I've never seen an old organ with that much toe damage. And we had toes where the solder seam had split open, and they had sort of folded one part around another one and then wrapped it in friction tape. So there was just a lot of toe and the tapered foot damage to be mitigated. There were expected pipe repairs like the leather covered stoppers because the leather is perishable, and most of it was actually original. So it really pretty desperately needed replacement in order to get what they would have heard originally, back then. The swell reed, the corno di capella, the reed tongues, which are brass, some of them, because of the sound we were getting, might have had hairline fractures in the metallic structure of the reeds. And since we were going for a restorative approach as much as possible, it just seemed smarter to have replica reed tongues made and to replace them and save the originals for posterity. I have a real love of these instruments because it's where I cut my teeth. Every project we do, regardless of who it's for, we have a policy of doing some little extra unexpected thing, whether it's adding a set of pipes that wasn't expected or restoring something that wasn't part of it. We do that as a gift from us to the church. We want it to sound right. They're taking the time to support their music program and to support this historic instrument. We want to do what we can to contribute to that longevity of the instrument and the sound we're going to get and the reliability.
Principally, the organ will be better suited to supporting the singing of its membership, both the choir and the congregation. But at the end of the day, a good organ will always sound better playing any kind of repertoire than a mediocre organ. And I think that St. John's has a good organ that had been tampered with and sort of made less than it was designed to be. And I hope that we have brought it back to its former stature.
I'm just so delighted that this rededication is happening.
By taking this project on, more people will have an opportunity to see its worth.
Wow. I really like that, if I do say so myself. But I wanted to spend a few minutes just recognizing the many, many people that made this, recognizing the many people that made this evening possible, and thank them. And if I miss somebody, please let me know. First is the generation that came before us. The 1974 clergy, vestry congregation of St. John's, who had the wisdom to acquire the instrument and the energy and the gumption to reassemble it and get it working again. We have a plaque. There was a plaque that was made in 1974. I know you can't read it, but if you look at the insert in your bulletin, you'll see an image of it on the back. And it has the names of all the people that were part of that 1974 project. And I think we even have a few of them here this evening. Reverend Bob Heyman and his wife Sally are here. Julia Gunn Cassell is here. Where are you, Julia? Oh, there, okay. David Calhoun. So if there's anybody else, please make yourself known. But I wanted to just recognize you and thank you from the future to what you did in the past. Thank you. The next thing I'd like to do is to recognize Sam Libra, who was the one who rediscovered some of the original pipes that were in a storage room someplace. Is that right? And the ones that had been removed when the organ was moved here, because I don't think they all fit. I think there were only 17 of the 19 ranks that they could squeeze into the space. But Sam found them and had his, well, gosh moment where he recognized that there was something that could be done here. And that was the spark that really generated the idea of restoring the organ to its former stature. So thank you, Sam. Jim Stetner and Michael Way, who provided the knowledge and the expertise, as well as countless hours of labor above and beyond the call of duty to restore the instrument. We really can't thank you enough, gentlemen. They're in the back. And I'd also like to thank our 3 alumni organists who are playing tonight, Richard Lind, Sam Libra, and Kyle Kennedy, who contributed their musical talents to St. John's over the years to help make a beautiful worship experience for us, but as well putting together this wonderful concert tonight. So thank you, gentlemen. And you're now excused to go to the organ loft. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge the generous financial support that we got from many parishioners here at St. John's, who are also listed on the insert in your program, if you look below the hymn. And although all those folks were important, I really want to especially recognize and thank Bob and Beverly Fichter, who established the Fichter Memorial Music Fund. And they wanted to support the music program at St. John's, and specifically the maintenance of the Cole and Woodbury organ. Bob and Bev both sang in the choir for many years, and they had a passion for high quality music as part of worship. So we're so grateful for their contributions. And their daughters Shannon and Sylvia are here tonight. Finally, because of the new life that we're establishing for the organ, we have a new plaque that will go with the old plaque back on the organ. And I know you can't read this, but again, the text of this plaque is in your insert, so you can read it. And on behalf of all those who made this possible, I want to present it to St. John's, to Father Michael. Oops. And with that, I think we're ready for our congregational hymn, hymn number 420, also on the insert in your bulletin.
Would you close the panel for me? I was told that I'd be reported to the bishop if I got water in the council and broke this thing. So we've covered it up nicely and everything is safe. You, on the other hand, are a little less safe about getting wet. So just a heads up there. Now for the blessing. Just one word, because apparently pastors are fond of this. A blessing is a thing that we do that is always catching up to the good thing God has already done. And this organ has been blessed by the love and action of the folks who played it, by the choir who sung and had their voices supported by it, and by the congregation. So the church is catching up to the good thing that God has already been up to with this beautiful instrument, and certainly blessed by the hands of Jim and Michael. Holy and gracious God, we praise you for your goodness in making the beauty of this world and for calling us to be your people. You have knit the love of music into our very being, and you have used the gifts of music and hymnody and worship to form us as the people you had in mind when you created each one of us. And we thank you for all the gifts you've given to your church, especially St. John's, and especially the gift of this restored organ. Bless those who use them to give them to your people and to lead them in praising you more fully. We bless this organ in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. And we bless your holy people in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. I think I'm going to preach from up here. I kind of like this. Thank you.
It's great to be back after almost nearly 7 years. Glad to be here and glad to see so many familiar faces. I am passionate about early American hymn melodies, and Wondrous Love tops the list of my favorites. The tune first appeared in the 1840 edition of William Walker's Shape Note collection, The Southern Harmony. The melody, heard throughout in the soprano voice in this setting, sings above an ostinato accompaniment of parallel harmonies inspired by the original version. The inconclusive final chord leaves one with the impression that God's wondrous love is never ending. I began composing Lux Aeterna in 2010, but after working through about a third of it, I hit a roadblock. The incomplete score gnawed at me until 2017, when suddenly the roadblock cleared. The Toccata Fantasy is based on 2 chant melodies. The first one stated is Crux Fidelis, Faithful Cross. Faithful cross the saints rely on, noble tree beyond compare. Never was there such a scion, never leaf or flower so rare. Sweet the timber, sweet the iron, sweet the burden that they bear. The primary inspiration of the piece, Lux Aeterna, is from the Requiem Mass. May light eternal shine upon them, O Lord, with thy saints forever. Eternal rest give to them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. Both chants are presented in different guises. Crux Fidelis is first offered as a straightforward harmonized chant melody, but its second appearance is atop rather dissonant chromatic chords. Lux Aeterna is initially heard serenely and mysteriously, but toward the end of the piece, an ecstatic transformation takes place that concludes the work in a brilliant blaze of eternal light. Wondrous Love, followed by the Toccata Fantasy on Lux Aeterna and Crux Fidelis.
enjoying some ancient technical difficulties here, a problem known to organists for generations. I'll finish the piece in a moment, but I was going to say, the repertoire we've chosen for this evening is really to kind of showcase a lot of the sounds that we were trying to reclaim from the organ, this piece by Edwin George Monk. Not a composer you often hear of, but he was the cathedral organist at York Minster. And I came across this piece and thought it was a really lovely kind of demonstration of some of the solo, but also kind of characterful sounds of the organ. But you also heard some Bach at the beginning of the program that would have been performed by organist Nick Strathy, who served St. John's prior to Richard. And Nick was not able to join us because of some family commitments. But then you'll hear at the end of the program some music by Antonio Soler, who was a 16th, I believe, century organist, and music that was performed on the dedicatory program in '74 that still works very well on the instrument, even though we've sort of un-neo-Baroqueified the organ. I'll also play some Brahms pieces that it didn't say in the original program which Brahms pieces were played, so I just picked two that I like. But I think that they demonstrate some of the characters of the organ really well. Especially, you may recognize the second piece, Lo, How a Rose Ere Blooming, which incorporates Michael Pretorius's beloved tune, in which we'll explore a lot of the 8-foot or sort of concert pitch stops of the organ, which means that the notes on the organ correspond to the notes you would see on the piano, as opposed to 4-foot, which are an octave above, and 16-foot, which are an octave below. And then what else am I playing? Oh, my dissertation was on Charles-Marie Widor, so obviously you're going to hear some of that, which Widor was kind of the pinnacle of the Romantic period composing for the organ. And so certainly his music would have been in the ear of any organist or organ builder of the late 19th century, early 20th century, as Cole and Woodbury were. And so when they built this organ, they very well may have wondered, could this play Widor? And I think that you'll find that it certainly can. But first, we'll hear the rest of Edwin George Monk's Andante sostenuto. while Kyle makes his way down to the piano, I'll just say that, oops, sorry, I'll stay in camera. So on the original program, dedicatory program, it was performed by 2 organists and featured a number of pieces for 2 performers that I believe they must have had a harpsichord brought in, because they did a number of sort of Baroque and Renaissance type pieces for 2 keyboards, one of which being organs, such as the Solaire, which we'll play at the end of the program. However, I really doubt that when this organ was built, the church had a harpsichord in regular use. At the end of the 19th century, much more in vogue would have been the piano. And like our chapel, your home may have had a reed organ, and you may have performed as a family organ and piano duets. And we thought that would be a nice sort of tip of the hat to the original dedicatory program, but a little bit more in line with the 19th century suavite that we were trying to capture with this organ. So I hope you enjoy 2 pieces for organ and piano duet, followed by the last movement of Antonio Solaire's 6th concerto, originally for 2 organs, but unfortunately St. John's has yet to install that 2nd organ. So while we wait, with piano.
Phone here, I took my other microphone off. Yeah, wow. Well, thank you everyone who came tonight. In addition to those who've already been recognized, I'd like to thank those who helped with the setup and the flowers, Debbie Baxter, Jeannie and Ted Ederer, Connie Lightbody and Todd Lightbody, for Tony for ushering this evening. Thank you, sir. We also have, I'd also like to let you know that this evening's refreshments are brought to you by our very own Blue Aprons, and want to thank Joe Kattenhorn, Doug and Mary Lou Sales, Donna Murphy, John Vickland and Maureen. And I want to thank Alex for doing a beautiful job of recording this and filming it. Well done. And last but not least, this night came off so beautifully because of the work of Rob Entrican. So I'd like to recognize Rob, his production of the little documentary, which is beautiful. And also Ted and Jean Montague for helping us fold this into the Centennial program and for doing such a good job with our Centennial. I want to thank you. Am I missing anybody? Okay. We're good, thank you. Yeah, of course, the organist. Thank you. And Jim Stetner and Michael and all those who contributed to make this project possible. Just beautiful. So I have one announcement before we go. One, thank you for wearing your masks tonight. And when we go to refreshments, you are welcome to take your masks off. I want to caution those who are at all compromised to think carefully about whether you want to be in that environment. But as a practical matter, having masks on during refreshments has just been not been happening, and it's too difficult. So, and then lastly, we'll do a dismissal, and then we'll go have some champagne and cake. Let us all go forth this night, trusting that God will call us to be the answer to another's prayer. And the people answer, we will with God's help. We will with God's help. Great evening. Thank you, everyone.